Cats, hello and welcome to Coycast, a podcast where we talk about all sorts of pop culture and glorious cat-involved goodness. I am Coy Jandro, a Bostonian who loves pop culture, comic books, and many people, some might say most people, joined as ever by the young reincarnation of Larry David. How you doing this week, Jake?
Wait, you can't. All right, I have so many. There's so many issues with this opening right off the bat. We don't often talk about cat things. It's not like a staple of the show.
We're both staring at my son. He's right here. He's doing the work.
Spidey Cat is like a silent co-host of all times.
He's like sitting in the bottom corner of our frame, and he's like staring up at me. He's the theme.
Okay, I can't be the reincarnation of someone who's still alive.
I don't know how it works.
That's not how reincarnation works.
I don't make the rules. Larry, he's living on multiple timelines.
I like that you finally start watching Curb Enthusiasm 20 years after it comes out, and now you're like, oh my God, Jake is just like Larry David.
It's so funny because I can tell it's like obviously the last season, like something ending, and usually you discover something when it's like long done, right. Or it's so weird to be joining something like in the peak of its fade. Right. I
think Alexandra watched the final season of Modern Family with me without ever having watched anything else. But also, she's actually I don't know why I didn't use the reference we're talking about, because I realized she also only started watching Curb when we met, so she hasn't seen like the first 15 seasons or whatever. You know what I mean? Like.
A substantial amount. I've only seen 3 of the 12 or whatever it is.
Well, listen, you're not the first and you're not the last who's mentioned that about me. I think I'm far more positive and far nicer, but also just as honest.
You are more positive about the things you're positive about, and that's it's funny because like you can be very, very positive, but it's like in a lane. It doesn't blend into everything. It's not like you're universally positive about blank. It's just like, this niche of thing you do be positive.
Larry knows what he likes, what he doesn't like, and he knows his strengths and weaknesses, and that is where we are. That is where we are similar. Okay. Did you see
there was a coffee place called Mocha Joe's in Philly, and I lost my shit.
Amazing. Did you? I'm assuming you're mostly caught up because you're watching it as it airs. The episode where they pay him to go to the party, and then he's talking with fucking Ficus, by the way, from District 9.
Sholto Copley getting the work, man.
So excited to see him in there. But when he goes like, yeah, I'm not good at parties. I know. That's what I do. It's just who I am. I ruin a party. That's why I don't go. And he's just like, all right, I appreciate your candor.
And like that whole episode of back and forth almost getting paid was genius, because that is so an LA thing, but wrapped in the Larry David of it all.
Fantastic. Well,
Show's great. Show's fantastic.
Hi, how are you? How was your trip?
Dude, Philly is a really cool city.
No, it's not. Don't lie just because people might be listening from there. It's an awful place.
Let me give my reasoning.
Ugh.
There are more art celebration stores in Philadelphia than all of LA. LA is a much bigger city. There are more vinyl record stores. There are more comic book stores. There are more bookstores. Philadelphia has more art as art. Like, it's more of a celebration of art than LA by a lot.
Okay.
So I would say Philadelphia gets a bad rap because, crime and villainy and the things that make any city bad. But I don't think I've ever heard about how good the art scene is in Philadelphia. Like hip hop, obviously, there's plenty that came out of it. Like, I did not realize the comic scene there is incredible. They actually have back issues. It's not just the comic stores where it's like, we've got graphic novels to appease. Like, we're trying. It actually feels like part of there's like a pulse to it. Right. And then the vinyl stores, like, there's some that specialize in metal and punk, some that specialize in pop. There's some that have like mainly older stuff. I went to 6 vinyl places and I saw a better selection there than the best one here. Like, Amoeba's great, but it's overpriced and it's got everything because it's sizable. But the curated nature of the vinyl places out there, impeccable. I was so impressed.
I mean, that's nice to hear. I don't know that it sells me on the city, but it does make me go like, oh, okay, look, there's some nice stuff happening.
I found immediate merit, but I was also looking for food, and it's amazing. Comics, way more than I expected, and vinyl, and the prices were good. So, like, I also went in with 3 goals, and it met all of them.
Right,
the city might be also garbage outside of those 3
You're
things.
not Santa Claus, so you don't have to worry about getting murdered.
Yeah, like that does help the lack of,
Philly is known to not be a kind place, too.
And I did love the history on top of that. So beyond just the usual stuff we talk about in the show, I went to the Declaration of of Independence Museum, which
Right.
was, where they signed it and where the meetings were all met. And that actually had some weight to it. It actually
Yeah,
felt
no,
important.
The historical things about Philly are probably the things that I would be most interested in.
There's more history there. I mean, obviously, I knew the broad strokes because I went to school in Boston, and they're kind of sister cities historically.
Yeah.
But it was really funny hearing it from the Philly side because it was kind of like, yep, Boston was getting in a lot of fights, and we were writing a lot of laws. And I never looked at it so cleanly, where everything they were saying just kept being like, and those guys up north, a lot of problems, and they were trying to solve it with jurisdiction. And I was like, oh, that is kind of our history. We are compatriots in violence and law, and that's kind of special.
Well, I'm glad that you found some kinship with the city of
brotherly love.
Brotherly love.
And to be honest, the art again impressed me more, but also the reverence for history. I think Boston felt unique in that to me until Philadelphia. Not a lot of cities in America, I feel preserve their history very well. And coming up in Boston, that was the bar because that's what I was exposed to. So when I started traveling, I kept being like, oh, you guys don't care. And this building from the 50s shouldn't be historic. That's new. Someone's alive.
Let's put an asterisk on that statement, though, about cities in America not preserving history. Northern American cities. Not because that's the problem. Because Alexandra and I, even going to Virginia, it's oh, wow, I love all the history. It's yeah, but they're not really... They're celebrating the wrong part of this.
They're remembering history their way,
right,
and also without there is a big asterisk on the other side of the Mason-Dixon as far as history written by blank is often a conversation.
Listen, but I get it. I mean, listen, you're in a city like Boston, you're in a city like New York, you're in a city like Philadelphia. You just want to put on Hamilton and just sort of feel patriotic.
Just vibe, man. I saw Hamilton's desk. It felt cool. It did hearing, a really good tour guide talk about history is going to be the most patriotic I've felt in a long time. That also coming back with a sense of looking forward to voting is not a feeling I feel a lot anymore. Because California,
really?
I'm so frustrated.
Even with all the text messages from Gavin Newsom?
Every email I get doesn't inspire hope.
No, I don't even get the emails. I get 17 texts a day from Gavin Newsom, and all of them start, Gavin Newsom here. I know. You're the only one who's texting novelizations of text messages.
He's just sitting up there, just typing away. That's what he's doing at various restaurants around Los Angeles.
Anyway, this isn't a politics podcast.
But Liberty Bell, dope. Declaration of Independence Museum, dope. Ben Franklin walking around naked in all sorts of streets, dope. I love that man taking air baths. That's what I think of him for beer and air baths. Right. So it's so funny seeing how much Ben Franklin there was because I kept being like, that man was so excited to get naked after this photo. And also the art scene incredible. I really Philly surprised me. I thought I'd like it. I didn't think it'd be more than cheesesteaks, but it was really a city I loved. It was impressive. And the pretzels, the stromboli, man, the food there was bomb. I gained 6 pounds.
Well, you could
it's winter. I'm hibernating.
Yeah, you could use it, honestly. You're looking a little gaunt in the face. I don't like it.
Little. Yeah, it's not my look. But how was your week, man? What have you been up to?
Fucking nothing. Just enjoying cold weather and some snow, and it's probably been 2 weeks since we last spoke.
We're back on schedule officially.
But everything is delightful. Been looking forward to sitting back down and then maybe taking some hotline calls. What do you say?
Ooh, well, I know one ties into our news I wanted to talk with you about, so let's get to that one in particular.
Hello, Coy and Jake. This is Doug from Pittsburgh, or Darth Vadad on Discord. I'd like to let everybody know who hasn't already heard that I'm doing great with my cyborg implant, and life's looking great. I have a hot take about X-Men 97 in that the original series, the X-Men series, I never watched that because I was too old for it at the time, and quite frankly, I did not love the what seemed to me to be cheap animation that Marvel had for their shows at that time. The Batman and Superman animated series, the stuff that DC was doing in general at that time was so much better. And I really hated the white costume that they gave Storm in those animated series because it always seemed to me that it was just it was done to appease the animation style because black was harder to do with certain backgrounds and things like that. And that when it was drawn in the comics, it was the shininess that the colorist would put on it, on the black, so it could be seen well and look shiny. Instead, they turned that to white, and I really hated that choice. But I think I'll check out the new one without watching the old ones just to see what it's like. I read all those original stories back when they were coming out, the Sinister clone stories and all that stuff. So I don't really have the attachment to it, but I'll still check it out. Thanks a lot, and have a good one. Peace.
Darth Vadad.
Sounds great.
The current unpunchable gift horse for the month of February. If you would,
our first known cyborg unpunchable gift horse, I think, on record.
We'll use this opportunity now to say that if you want to challenge him for that very prestigious, renowned position of unpunchable gift horse, you got to become a gift horse patron over at patreon.com/KoiCast. We'll be doing the March drawing next month to see who is the Dragon Wagon birthday champion. Or
birthday and anniversary and St. Patty's champion. I'm curious who they're going to be.
Talking X-Men 97. By the way, you're not...
So some news broke the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, but that also, like, I felt a little bit of trepidation him saying publicly that the animation was trash. No, everybody knows. The X-Men 97 animation was absolute fucking trash. There's that really great, like, GIF that goes around of Cyclops turning and running. Do you know that one image? And it looks atrocious. It was,
and the colors changing that whole season randomly, season 5 or whatever, where it's like, wait, what's happening?
It's not great, but I would argue that was also, as a kid, that was almost kind of part of its charm.
It had a punk rock sensibility in its messiness.
I wouldn't say that particularly. I would
not
just
like Spider
say,
Punk, but just like the fact that you could tell it wasn't polished. Like there was like punk in the sense that it wasn't as clean as Justice League. It was kind of like, yeah, the X-Men are figuring it out. But so are the animators.
Contrasted and compared to something like Batman animated series,
which is pure cinema, which is some of the most beautiful animation of all time.
Yeah.
That said, X-Men, you're not alone. I thought the hot take was that he didn't like the white suit, because I consider that one of the most beautiful suits, period.
So I do think that he's right, though. I do think that was simply... listen.
Oh, it was done out of necessity. I thought it was a great lemonade from lemons, though. Personally, I think that's one of her better suits.
You know what's interesting, though, about that is I always think about... right now I'm looking at that pillow that's next to you with Spider-Man on it, right? On your other side, to the right side, to your right. There you go, that one. I really think like our color literacy, especially when it comes to comic books, is so strange in the fact that like Spider-Man's suit's not blue to me. It's never blue to me. It's black and red, and the blue is the way light hits black, and it makes it look kind of shiny. And it's a way to sort of create that texture. And I think that Storm's black suit had a lot of the same problems too, where even Storm's black, it felt sometimes in comics like it was interpreted differently when a different artist was taking it on, because of the way that they interpreted it from whatever the original artist drew it as, if any of that made sense.
Well, and like Joe Jusko and Jim Lee, and like they adopted the white suit, so to me it felt like it was immediately classic, because other people that like are
That's
iconic
true.
to me.
And I don't know what the timeline is for the Jim Lee X-Men 1, but as a child, I feel like that all happened exactly the same time. So like that's what...
my memory is, I mean, they're probably within months, but my memory is, that's Storm.
Yeah, that's what Storm looked like. If you were like, say, what Storm looked like, I would be like, oh, Storm, white suit, white hair, you know?
Yeah, and like Mohawk was later because of like that stark imagery working so well.
Sure.
I just dropped an iPad and it was very loud and my cat ran away. That's the chaos you're hearing on the other side of...
I saw you like wince and I went like, I don't know what's happening.
I went to wave and my wave extended to my iPad, flinging across the room, and my cat scampering, knocking more things down. A lot happened.
Nobody is ever going to accuse you of being smooth.
No, guys, I'm an acrobat. Me and Spider-Man, we're really nimble folk.
Not a graceful individual.
Not in the name. That said, X-Men, the new animated series, did get its trailer this week, and that was one of the two big stories I want to talk to Jake about. And like that's actually what I'm really been enjoying about our new format of just kind of like review, not chasing the news, is once stuff settles down, then I'm like, I'd like Jake's opinion because it matters to me. Not like, oh my God, this just broke. Jake, what you think of the trailer?
Not all that god awful.
I'm so tired about YouTube, man.
YouTube,
I'm so tired. I'm just tired.
Which is weird because when I texted you earlier, we've been doing this for what, 3 years now? I don't know how long has we been doing this. Almost 4 years because we're going to be
almost 4. I think.
Yeah. You still call it filming. We're not filming anything. This is not a video podcast. I would like to maybe turn it into a video podcast. I'd be happy with that if you would like to.
Oh, that's so funny.
But
You're right.
Still cannot say the word recording. Or even taping, not like we're putting anything on tape, but
recording just sounds so like
you're
80s
always
to me.
You're always like, oh, when are we, when are we filming Koicast? I'm like, bitch, we've never filmed Koicast.
We literally don't film Koicast.
So you might be sick of YouTube, but let me tell you, it is
it certainly is part of me. Well, that's where I do 80%, 90% of my work.
In your bones.
Yeah, and I don't love that.
Take a sip. Anyways, I think that the X-Men the trailer for it looks fantastic. I think there is definitely, like Darth said, that he was a little bit too old for it, and so he didn't really watch it when it aired. And I think that this is one of those little tasty
our 5-year apart moments.
I was gonna say those member berries. This is one of those like where the nostalgia for our generation. And even though you and I are an age gap, I think we both have that. Like this.
I think I was on the young side of it. You were on the old side of it. This is very much both of our jam.
Yes, 100%. And the nostalgia factor. The second the song plays, I'm just like, there's a reason I included it. It was the first thing when I decided on what our theme was going to be for Koicast, when I was writing and recording that.
So iconic.
The first thing I wanted to do was and I was like, okay, everything else from there is irrelevant, but
because the bass line is all that matters.
It's really good. It's the trailer looks fun. It looks like it did. It looks, but I wonder whether or not it's going to be like a better animated version of the same style.
I think it's going to be like a slightly more 3D to make it mesh with What If more.
Oh, you think
like visually?
I don't think the two are even, because I mean, What If is
it looks
so
like
polished.
cell shaded 3D to me at points. It looks obviously in the physical style, like their bodies are in the old style, but it looks like it's a different style of moving them. Like the movements look like a blend between old and What If to me, whereas like the What If style is obviously like borderline 3D.
Yeah, well, it's also the What If style. Essentially, it just features a lot more like digital. At least, not everything is fucking digital.
Tons. Yeah,
everything is digital.
It's all digital. But like, I know what you're saying.
There's a lot more texture work. There's a lot more light work. There's a lot more. Yeah, I guess you're right. Like a 3D space. It's like, like when you're. I mean, you don't watch a ton of animated shit. Which reminds me, I'm gonna revisit that because somebody dunked on you so hard in the Discord that I have to bring it up. And
it's like a hotline call from text.
And I don't remember who it was, and I'm gonna feel bad. But anyways, do you know when you're watching like a cartoon and like it's clear that they were like, well, we're gonna use a 3D car in this episode of like fucking Simpsons or whatever, where it's like
and it just out of nowhere feels so weird.
It feels weird. They use that technology, but in a good way on something like What If. Whereas 97 definitely feels, at least in the trailer to me, like there's none of that. It's very much like flat, old school 2D. It's almost more akin, in my opinion, to what DC animated does well. Yeah.
And that line from Cyclops, finally hearing to me my X-Men animated, was so like, woo! Like the moments they hit, they knew what they were doing and like what their market is.
Yeah. The only thing that
charging up Wolverine's claws, that was awesome.
That's such a cool fucking shot. When
the fastball special remix.
When they started glowing purple, I thought to myself, that has nobody ever done that before?
Yeah, I'm like, how have I never seen this before? How is this a first time?
Talk about, listen, I know you're not a wrestling fan, but as a wrestling fan, there's like always little things where I go like, there's only so many things you can do, right? So when somebody does something that's specifically new that makes sense, it's like, it's one of those moments.
Oh, it's revelatory. This is that.
One of those
I totally
moments.
get that. You're like, there's only so many combinations of like fights in games and comics. Oh wait, a new combo attack?
I will say the Wolvie line at the end of it was a little bad. It was not rough. It was not rough. Good. And maybe because it's just like out of context. I don't know.
He works better on the day because that was rough.
That was a rough. But I do like the Spanish edit that's been going around. Have you seen that? Where he calls him Poppy instead of Pop.
And Poppy, I'm like, is he flirting with him? Because that's very Krakoa Wolverine.
Holy shit.
Because Krakoa Wolverine and Cyclops get into some business, and I would love to hear that Poppy.
Hey, Poppy, come here. fact,
Pedro Pascal plays Wolverine. Like, I'm into that.
Oh, you're touching on something.
I want that Krakoa X-Man.
But anyways, yeah, it looks fucking super fun. I really dig it, and to know that you're excited for it, considering you don't connect with animation. So I don't.
Oh, is this the Discord thing?
Yeah. So let's see. Somebody, I want to say it was Mass Llama. I apologize, whoever it was in Discord. You can call and ridicule him yourself, but I'm gonna do it paraphrasing. Somebody commented on us having that conversation where you saying like you're slowly get into it, but the specific line of it's hard for me to connect to the emotionality of drawings versus actors. Somebody said like, yeah, Coy, isn't your entire thing comic books connecting with exclusively drawings? And I thought,
yeah, but that's using your imagination to move the
really good
cells. Like to me, comic books aren't like. Comic books are special because you're the actor, director, and writer. Sure, animation doesn't allow for that. It has actors, directors, and writers, so I don't connect to it because it's someone else telling the story. The comic book, I get to tell the story.
Well defended. You well defended.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so.
I totally get that. I totally get that. But I did think it was a very funny.
I totally see how it
on
can
paper,
seem critical.
you saying, I don't connect with drawings, says the guy
and I'm
who's
like,
known.
I'm going to do drawings for a living.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about drawing. Yeah, I totally see the hypocrisy on the surface, but to me, it's like the difference between being immersed in something and being like a spectator.
Right.
A comic, I'm the one immersed, and with animation, I feel like a spectator. It's the same reason I struggle with subtitles in English movies, not in foreign films. Like foreign films, I don't understand other languages, so I need the subtitles.
Sure.
But when there are subtitles on an American film, it removes me completely from having suspension of disbelief because one, I'm reading way faster than they're talking. Two, I'm seeing visually words in front of people, and there's no reality where I feel like that world exists because I'm like, guys, there's letters beneath you. Like, I can't connect. So, like, it's similar with animation where I'm like, I'm a spectator watching something versus, like, this is me guiding it.
Right. I could respect that totally. How many?
Defended my honor to someone in the Discord.
How many episodes do you think we're gonna get of?
I hope it's like 12. I hope it's like not. I don't think we'll get 22 like we used to, but I really hope it's not just 6. I hope it feels like X-Men.
It says on that app that I use to log TV, it says 42. Oh, that makes sense because I was saying it says 42 minutes. But I realized that's because there's 2 episodes listed, so maybe it is a 20-minute show. I was curious. I was like, dude, is it an hour-long show? Is it like a?
I think 20 minutes will fit better. It'll because the whole point is like you said, member berries.
Yeah,
it'd be so weird if they like make it a premium format.
Well, I mean, this is going to be a Disney Plus show, right?
Yeah, I just mean like premium always feels more.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, but
it would feel inauthentic to the member berries. Yeah, Disney Plus, and it's dropping once a week. I'd love if they drop it on Saturday morning, dude.
It does say minutes by episode. Oh wait, hang on. Now I'm curious. Now that I just looked this random thing up, not to derail, but I need to know whether or not these are going to be 20-minute.
I think they'll be 22 or whatever.
I mean, episodes. Yeah, doesn't say anything yet. Well, I guess we'll find out. This will be
March.
Yeah, we still have one more recording before this will air. This starts on March 20th, I believe, is the date that we've been given.
And it is going to be, I think, a slightly longer season. I'm not sure. And it's airing weekly. I'm hoping it's Saturday morning, dude. I'd love a Saturday morning cartoon again.
Oh, like that'd be fun.
Sunday. That's what I'd do. Just if you're leaning in,
Friday,
in, like
Friday
why
midnight.
release it Thursday if you can do a Saturday morning feel?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
And then the other thing that came out in the time we haven't recorded, what do you think of the Fantastic Four casting?
So other than, Fantastic Four so white, Pedro
Pascal. His name is Pedro Pascal.
I know, but it's great. I mean, like I like that they all feel like up and coming stars. Like Pedro is the guy who right now is a star, and then everybody else feels like this is how you should cast like franchises like this. In my
That's
opinion.
what I thought you'd feel. Especially because I love Eben, man. I think Eben's the best casting in the lot.
That's great. Ultimately, I think that this is just good business.
Yeah, I think getting people on the cusp of superstardom is good for schedules, good for budgets, and good for what Marvel does, which is turn people into household names.
Right.
The pay isn't as good as doing, other things, but it makes you a household name that can get pay. Why do something if you're a $20 million actor that's going to lock you in for 10 years? This is the perfect thing for people about to be everywhere. And I also think it's a great thing for following up Stranger Things. Like, how do you top the biggest show on Netflix?
Right.
Oh, you go to Marvel.
Another big,
and you do a Quiet Place day one, and you've got other stuff in the pocket.
And it's also a completely different casting. It's like it's not going to be a type. I mean, I guess it's typecast in the sense that he's boisterous,
and cool.
as what was his name? Danny? No, what was his name in Stranger Things?
Oh yeah, what was his name?
Danny,
Ed, Muddy,
Eddie. Yeah, it was Eddie.
Eddie, there
was Eddie. Yeah. Like he was definitely like a brash, ballsy guy, but he was the nerd, not the cool guy.
Whereas, very opposite of cool.
Now
he's cool in a literal way, not cool in like, oh.
Yes, assuming
Yeah,
that,
I mean, if Johnny Storm better be.
Right, yeah.
And then Vanessa Kirby is such a boss. Like, she is such a force every time she shows up and stuff. I'm really excited for like a fierce, competitive, intellectual Sue Storm. Like, we just, haven't had that character as the lead yet, and I hear more and more like she's the matriarch of the Fantastic Four. Like, she's going to be a force of it. So I think she's great to lead the family.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've been waiting for this specific version for a long time in a movie because I love the setting. I love that it's not just like a modern this and modern that, and it's like, no, this was like the Fantastic Four are a dated superhero team. They kind of need to. You and I had this conversation about Captain America, where it's like the thing that they did right by Captain America is acknowledging he's out of time.
Are you saying Mr. Fantastic is a name that would sound weird if someone just uttered it?
Listen, as someone who's regularly called Captain Fantastic around the household, I will not speak to this because
you're perhaps more used to it than others. I think the '60s thing was a good move.
If that movie didn't exist, Captain Fantastic, which by the way is an excellent fucking movie. If that movie didn't exist, I would trademark the shit out of Captain Fantastic, and it would be the name of the network. It'd be a name of so many things. Because I say,
but man, that movie's exceptional.
But yes, yeah, I mean, I'm stoked.
Yeah, I also love the announcement. Like, I didn't like it at first because I thought it felt like they should have done a big to-do, but I kind of liked that it was on a holiday and it was Marvel's first family, that it was an image. Like, I
and
really
Herbie.
liked the rollout.
Herbie's there.
Dude, Herbie confirmed.
Herbie's there.
1960s. Wait. Also love that they have astronaut Eben behind thing.
Right. That was smart. Well, because otherwise we would be like, who the fuck is playing?
Who is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know who's voicing Herbie yet?
No. They want a stand-up comedian, they've said.
Oh, I'll listen. I've been doing a few dates here and there. I'll get back if it's whatever it takes.
You've worked in Marvel.
I want to start an ad campaign. Bacon.
You've voiced a Marvel character.
Bacon for Herbie. Yeah, listen.
Hit up Paul and be like, hey.
I hear Herbie as like, he's not quite like C-3PO, right?
But it's in that nasally space.
He's very 60s delightful.
And
he's
so
very
high energy.
Yeah, he's very high energy. What can I do for you, Reed?
Yeah,
what
like
can
shucks.
I do, Mr. Richards?
There's a shucks energy in there.
Yeah, sure.
And I'd like that. Like, not quite John Mulaney as Spider-Ham, but in that direction.
Listen, this is completely a complete tangent, and I know that you didn't play these games, but speaking of people voicing robots, I saw that they released a poster for What's-His-Face's Borderlands movie.
They released a trailer.
Oh, I didn't see the trailer. Okay, I should watch the trailer.
It's Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Because I will say I don't trust him to make a good Borderlands movie. I don't like him. I'm forgetting his name right now. What the fuck is his name?
Eli Roth?
Eli Roth. Thank you. Yeah, I don't trust Roth to make a good Borderlands movie. I don't know. I'm not sold on it. But the character of Claptrap, who's the little guide robot, who's very, very ridiculous in the games, and he's very funny and he's comic relief, voiced by Jack Black, is A+. That is great work.
It is literally the most Guardians of the Galaxy trailer I've seen since they re-edited Suicide Squad to be Guardians of the Galaxy. It is just trying to make Guardians again.
I'll have to watch it. Yeah, all I saw was the poster. And I think the casting of tell us how you feel, Spidey Cat. I think the casting of, is it Kevin Hart? Is not.
Who's supposed to be like a big guy.
That's not good. No, he's supposed to be this big bruising military commander, and it's just.
And Kevin Hart is like comically small. That's his.
Yeah, unless that's the
thing.
bit. Unless they're making the bit like he's got like a Napoleon complex, but that seems tired.
We've seen that also with Jack Black.
Yeah, seems very
in
tired.
Jumanji. We've literally seen that dynamic. Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for both the Fox news announcements we got the week of Madam Web, because Marvel's like, hey, remember, we're not Sony, Marvel, we're MCU.
Yeah.
That timing was very funny. I
good.
did not, believe that. I'm wondering how long they had planned ahead to have those releases out those 3 days in a row. Like, was it 10 months ago? Was it last month? Like, when did they go, like, we'll need this press?
Oh my God. Speaking of Madam Web, the more that stuff comes out from press and interviews, the more I love this cast and also pity this cast so bad. What's the blonde from Euphoria who's in it?
Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney. Did you see the quote where Sydney Sweeney talked about getting her getting like the confirmation that she was cast and saying that it was going to be so happy to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Clearly not.
Did you hear about Dakota Johnson running into Elizabeth Olsen in a lobby and talking about the pressures of being in the MCU and not realizing she wasn't?
Oh my God. No, I did not hear about
Dakota
that.
Johnson asked Elizabeth Olsen advice about the pressures of the MCU, and I can't imagine what Liz Olsen was thinking, much less like saying that in an interview after the movie came out.
This isn't the same thing. I mean, technically it is the same thing because fucking
because of No Way Home.
Spider-Man ruined everything. Like he tends to do. But listen, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Not the same. Yeah, I'm excited for you to see Madam Web, because that's gonna be a hell of a patron pod.
We can't wait. In fact, if I might
also Patreon tease for this week's patron pod. Not only have I seen Dune, but I also saw Sydney Sweeney's Rom-Com. So our Rom-Com fans, I got a Rom-Com to talk about.
Not even spoilers for upcoming. If you missed this past one, the one that aired last week, Coy watched Die Hard because of specific gift horse picks, and digs his heels in such a way that will make you absolutely infuriated at him. And also, let me say, we didn't even talk about it. Bruce Willis, they say he's at this point, he's non-verbal, like a horrible. This hero, this icon of Hollywood, and the entire time Coy was like, yeah, but I like that Anti-Semites movie better. And he was like, I like Mel Gibson. He's my favorite actor.
We didn't talk about the morals and ethics of the actors. We talked about one being charming and one being a stump.
I just hate Bruce Willis. I love that Mel Gibson. He's my hero, says Coy Jandro.
I'd argue that the person's health is nothing to do with their caliber of acting.
He was wearing a Passion of the Christ t-shirt during the entire recording of it.
I was dating my 27 years younger current wife.
Yep.
She's 8. Yeah, no, it's not great.
Anyway, long story short, become a patron. Listen to the Patreon.
Yeah, because some might say I watched Die Hard 1 and 2. Some might say I endured Die Hard 1 and 2. Tune into the Patron pod to find out.
Anyways, you want to see what else we got in the hotline?
Yeah, let's see what we got next.
Hey, Coy. Hey, producer Jake. This is Matt Flama of the Legendary Fighting Federation. First off, fantastic job at MegaCon. Sounds like you had a blast. Loved hearing about your experiences. Wanted to call and talk about reveals. I was curious what some of your favorite comic book or movie television reveals were. Either twists or whenever you finally realized or were told what happened in a mystery, how it was going to end up. I think for me, one of my favorites is the reveal of who Onslaught was back in the 90s. Because I figured it out. Literally only one panel before they revealed who Onslaught was. But I remember sitting there staring at that page going, I'm going to turn this page and I am just not going to believe what I see. But I think it's who it was, just in case somebody needs a spoiler for a 30-some-year-old comic book. But in any case, I was curious, would you kindly tell me, both of you, some of your favorite big reveals? Have a good one, y'all. Bye.
Big reveals in comics.
That's fun.
It's such a big, broad question, though, that it's tough to big reveals. I can remember
the reveal of Zorn was cool. Magneto being Zorn in the new X-Men. Like, that was really special because I, thought he was this new character and he was really interesting and intellectual and like a natural leader. And then it's like, oh, of course, all of those attributes of Magneto and how he uses magnetism to look like a new power. Like Zorn, I thought was really cool.
Another X-Men one, Bone Claws. Who would have thought?
Oh, yeah.
Who would have thought Wolverine's claws were originally bone? That I don't know that I necessarily loved that in the moment, but it was definitely.
I still don't love it, but it was a moment.
It was shocking for sure.
What
man,
else?
I mean, I feel like certain books, anything by Vaughn, at the end of every issue,
every 3 pages of Saga.
I mean, Saga. There's a lot of those what the fuck moments and Why the Last Man. The first, those first few major storyline arcs in Walking Dead are all like kind of those moments. But I'm trying to think.
The Ned Leeds reveal with Hobgoblin was incredible. Like after all those like twists and turns and who is it and like the mystery, I think the Hobgoblin reveal is slept on.
Sure.
Because it was like a year in the making directly and like 5 years in the making indirectly, and then it felt important. That's not easy to do. It's like the X-Men reveal of the third Summers brother being some guy we didn't know. Like I was so afraid the Ned Leeds. I was afraid whoever Hobgoblin was wouldn't feel important.
Right.
Because they were like Mr. Sinister. And they like had that whole Gambit. It was supposed to be Gambit. And then when it wasn't Gambit, you're like, who's Vulcan, bro? And I still don't care about Vulcan.
Speaking of X-Men, Jean Grey not being, Jean Grey, the Phoenix Saga, essentially. She's not dead. Yeah. She didn't die. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, that was huge.
But I think also it's interesting for me, like I don't retain a ton because I don't read weekly comics. I never really have. So I've never done that. It's like you and I, we tout the benefits of weekly television where you get to like linger on it and talk about it and the anticipation makes it greater. I tend to have always read comics well after they've been released. And so I don't really have that delayed gratification, which one could argue.
The rush.
One could argue it makes some of the twists and turns blend more to where it's just part of the ongoing movie,
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think the moment to moment is more exciting for me, but I also really enjoy the reread of a graphic novel as far as pacing better. So I think there's pros and cons, even if it's your first time through. Speaking of weekly comics, though, a slight tangent. The Ultimate Spider-Man 2 issue came out.
Yeah.
I can't. It's so good. Like, this Spider-Man run is so good. It's as good at reminding me why I love comics as the first run was when I needed it most. I wasn't as out as I was in the year 2000. I was still reading X-Men and Spider-Man, but I wasn't reading a lot. And then Ultimate Spider-Man got me back. I've talked about it a lot. I'm still very much in, but I'd kind of lost a lot of that, like, I'm excited to read versus I have to read because I'm keeping up. Like, there is an obligation element to reading 70 comics. Like, I can't deny the volume makes it obligatory. I have to read 10 comics a day, damn near every day. That's a lot.
Too much.
Yeah. So like, there was a little magic that I was like, I'm enjoying this, and what a gift to read comics for a living. But Ultimate Spider-Man is the first time I've been like, I put it down and then I'm like, I have 29 days waiting. Like, it feels like so good that I'm thinking about Wednesdays. I've got Wednesdays circled on my calendar again. Like it's the 90s. Like, I'm thinking ahead. It is a sensational, pun intended, element to my week. And it's a 28-page journey. It is so good. It's only on issue 2. It's one of the best. I would say it's the best Spider-Man, Chip Zdarsky notwithstanding, the best Spider-Man in 20 years.
Did you have to wait to get back to grab number 2? Because it came out.
I got one in Philly.
It came out when you were in Philly. I was going to say.
And I've got another one being held for me here, but I had to hold it.
Right.
Like, I literally went to the comic store that morning. It was really cool. I went on Monday, and the guy at the desk was a fan and was really sweet and kind and was like, hey, I didn't expect Coy Genre in my comic store to be on my bucket list today. Like, gave me a big hug, and it was a cool moment for me as like, oh, people all over see the stuff I make. But then I was like, oh, I'm going to try to come back for Ultimate Spider-Man. I came back on Wednesday, and he had held a copy because they sold out.
Okay, right.
So, like, the comic had sold out, and he knew that I wanted it and didn't know for sure I'd be back. I could have just been, like, saying that.
Right.
Held me a copy so I could read it the day of. Like, that was the kind of kindness I didn't expect from Philly.
Yeah, there you go. Like you said, the arts community.
The arts community surprised the hell out of me because there was a lot of rough streets that I was like, all right, I'm going to not walk through Kensington at night. But then like I go to a comic store and like, held you a copy, sold out. I was like, Philly.
So we're two books in, 2 floppies in. So in 4 months, I'll be able to get a trade. And
I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the new year.
I like that this actually like that it is like a fresh start, new story. It'll be easier to dive in because I am sort of like sorely lacking Spider-Man in my like, because there's so much of it, and I do want to continue reading Ultimate. When we were reading Ultimate a couple years back, I got to a point where I just stopped liking the digital version of it, and I got to a point where I was like, oh, I want to keep doing this, but I'd rather do it not.
How far did we end up getting?
I don't remember. I think we got 10 or 12. I don't know. We got a couple trades worth.
Yeah.
I don't really remember, to be honest with you. I don't remember where we are in the story.
I know we didn't get to the Miles stuff.
No, not even close.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I'd go back.
Yeah, I need to.
But dude, Ultimate,
it's
it's so accessible. I think you'll like that he's an adult.
Right.
I really love that he's got kids. As someone that is looking at,
you're saying
kids.
New Ultimate. You're the new Ultimate.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
The current Ultimate run, not Bendis. The Chiarello
they should have called it.
Is
they should have called it Ultimater. It's slightly
Ultimater Spider-Man,
slightly more Ultimate. Ultimater.
And then in 20 years, the Ultimate is Spider-Man.
There we go. But then when the problem is that 30 years goes by, and they're like, well, we want to still keep bang on this, and then it's like, no, but really Ultimatist Spider-Man.
And then we're at 2099.
There we go.
Actually, we'll actually be at Spider-Man 2099.
At some point, 2099 is going to be like, oh, it's like a retro futurism. It's like it's like a book about the past.
Yeah, Alchemex is this throwback tech company. They were only genetically modifying. How tame. It's going to be, I'm literally trying to live to 111, so I have 29 on my gravestone. I'm making healthy choices to try to make it to live to the year of Miguel O'Hara.
Yeah.
That is what I'd like.
You've mentioned. And
it's a weird goal, and my parents support it.
Best of luck with that.
All right, we got another hotline call
right.
before I go on an existential tangent.
Yeah, we got one more.
Hey, Coy. Hey, Jake. This is Gilbert up in the Bay Area, now in the South Bay. And I was just calling in because, Coy, we got beef. Calling me out on the podcast for my not streaming movie when, one, I had offered a streaming alternative in case it wasn't streaming, and two, not 15 seconds later, you were talking about how much you liked physical media more than streaming media.
I'm not going to buy a random movie I've never... that doesn't relate.
What is the truth, Oprah.gif? But I digress. I have a game for you. This was meant to be for Valentine's Day, but since I didn't make it, I will just give it to you as a regular game. I feel like it's one that's up your alley. I want to hear a romantic comedy you have starring people who have been in superhero movies. It cannot be a superhero movie itself, but if they've been in a superhero movie, they can be in this movie. You can build it together if you like, or you can have your own premise. It could be a Hallmark style movie, or it can be, a Netflix style, whatever. Just your best pitch. And then I guess when this airs, I could put a poll on in the Discord to see who likes whose more.
Competing rom-coms.
Anyway, that's it. Just I want to hear your romantic comedy. I want to hear your actors. If it's going to be poly or not, like monogamous, or you're going to have your lead actors. You're going to have the antagonist. You're going to have the best friend characters, the parents, stuff like that. And I just think that'd be fun. You guys have a good day. Bye.
Alrighty. So before we get into the game part of this, Gil's trying to be like, oh, you're giving me crap for when he was Unpunchable Gift Horse, not picking a streaming easy thing. And even though he offered alternatives, don't ruin this, everybody. Okay, we do this silly little gift horse watching long thing.
And it's hard to schedule. We're trying.
And nobody wants to play along. Everybody wants to be difficult. Listen, we appreciate it. We're not logging into your fucking account because you have something. We're not.
I can't go to Best Buy and buy a Blu-ray. Or not even Best Buy anymore.
Make it as easy as possible. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Somebody wanted us to watch something that was on streaming, and they just mailed it to us. That we accepted that with the town, at least for me. Remember?
Also,
so, Gil,
they had the year before sent me the extended issue of the town, and it's one of my treasured possessions. I will accept bribes.
So, Gil, listen, all right? Both can be true. We can appreciate and desire physical media and also not want to make it more
inconvenience
difficult.
ourselves for a movie we've never seen. I'm looking at my Blu-ray rack. Do you know what's not on it? Movies I haven't seen. I don't buy a movie.
Listen, Gil is our difficult kid. All right, he's
really,
that one. He's that one that like he's the reason why other kids don't get enough attention. Do you know those kids
he's
like the
lashing
siblings?
Out. He's the middle child syndrome, Gil. We're on to you. And your other call giving us crap. I don't even remember what it was about, but there was you were giving us guff about something else, Gil.
He called like 7 times, and each time
coming in swinging, just having problems.
Gripes. We're gonna call you Gripes short from now on. All right. Anyways,
Gripes. I appreciate the game though, and I generally appreciate your calls, other than the hypocrisy.
All right. So
rom-com. I got an idea.
There's so many. Everybody's been in a superhero movie at this point. Just pick a rom-com.
That's my pitch. Okay. My pitch is a Entourage meets The Artist-esque story where it's a modern day set and 2 stars are inundated with people having rumors that they're together, and they're not, but they have great chemistry, and eventually on set they go like, well, everyone thinks we have great chemistry. Like, do you want to like go on a date? And the pressure of set turns into like a strange meet cute, but they've already met. They've known each other forever.
Wait. So,
but
in this, I'm a little lost here. Are you saying that in universe these are both actors
playing themselves
who are? Oh, okay, and they are in universe.
It's
in
a
the actual
narrative
movies they are
themselves.
actually in. Okay,
yes.
So you're Curb Your Enthusiasming it.
100%.
To keep it on brand.
Curb meets Entourage and a little bit of The Artist.
Okay. All right.
So like actors. So in fact, you know what? Let's go more meta. You wanted superheroes. Tom Holland as Tom Holland, Zendaya as Zendaya, but as if they didn't date yet. So they're playing a couple that are in a movie that everyone thinks their chemistry is too strong. So everyone assumes they're dating. They decide to actually go on a date and really catch feelings. But then once they start dating, people start saying it's all for press. So it inverts and suddenly everybody thinks it's like bad PR. So now it's one of those stories of they have to date someone else because the press around the movie becomes suddenly about just them faking dating, and then it's them having will they won't they with the new people they're dating, a la what was that, the Charlie Day movie where they go on fake dates,
the new one that just came out, Fool's Paradise. I didn't see that yet.
No, not the one he directed, the one where he's like setting up someone to date someone but he likes her.
With Charlie Day?
He hides in a chest, like at the foot of a bed in one scene.
You're positive this was Charlie Day?
90%.
All right. Maybe either I've seen it and don't remember, or I haven't seen it.
But I like situational rom-coms where they have to date someone else because of a situation, and I also like when actors play themselves. So you got a little Ocean's 12 action. You got actors going on dates they don't want to, and you got actors playing themselves that are actually in a relationship. And you call it Star-Crossed Lovers.
All right. Well, I was listening to all that and not thinking about anything of my own. So God, I don't know. It's such a big, broad, vague thing. I feel like I need to reverse engineer this and pick my stars, right? And so, I mean, it's very hard for me to not just go right to like one of my favorite actresses, despite the fact that I don't love her in her superhero character, because both can be true. Like, it's got to star Brie Larson, because
Brie Larson's abs,
because she's one of the most like just sexy and charming and funny,
impossible,
right? Just impossibly like so. It's got to go Brie Larson. So I need like an age.
She's more beautiful than Rome. I'll never forget being in Rome and looking at the Colosseum and then Brie Larson walking in front of me and suddenly forgetting all of architecture. Like, she's so stunning, she made Rome look drab.
So, I mean, I feel like I got to go, like, if we're going to go Brie Larson on one side, I feel like somebody else who's really charming and almost like, because Brie Larson is that, like, she has too many things going for her and it's not fair. So we're going to go equivalent of that on the other side, and we're going to go Henry Cavill.
Right? I like
too many good things. But here's the thing is Henry Cavill plays a, like, very Clark Kent-ish actual person, where despite the fact that he is this giant, gorgeous fucking, carved out of stone man who's like really smooth. He's actually what he is, which is like a fucking giant Warhammer nerd. And he's just like this uber fucking nerd. And maybe he's like in this kind of like shitty relationship with this other kind of like it girl, right? And I'm trying to think of who else could be the it girl that's like kind of mean to him, who's a little bit like, who's the type A?
An Isa Gonzalez, like someone like Ardrea Arjona.
No.
Aubrey Plaza.
Who the fuck was Aubrey Plaza in a superhero movie? I don't know. I'm trying to keep it all superhero movie people.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of like
she's in Agatha.
Yeah.
She's in the Agatha show.
She
plays a witch.
No, you know what? I mean, yeah. All right. Well, whoever this person is, they're a little cruel and mean, and like, he meets Bree at like a fucking tabletop store because he was there playing Warhammer, and she comes in and sees him and like is a little like wait, who the fuck is this guy? Like he's just this like big burly jock sexy dude, but he kind of has like really no confidence, and he's like, and she kind of like shows him that like, he can get out of this shitty abusive relationship. And, she's like, maybe a little manic pixie dream girl, but that's all right. It's a rom-com 2024. We can revisit this again. I'm fine with this trope. Yeah, I don't know. There we go. There's my setup. It's those two being impossibly handsome. And like, by the way, it's really obvious that like everybody else in the cast of the movie, it's like, these aren't real people.
They got to be just acknowledged at the top.
Like, these are not real people. Like, who are you two? You stand next to each other?
Dungeons and Dragons and dating.
Yeah, I want the two. I want
D&D.
Superwoman of Marvel and Superman of DC. And yeah, it's let's see. I'm not going to use what you just said because you named it. And now it's no longer my thing. So I can't, even though that's really good. D&D, Dungeons and Dragons and dating. That's pretty
right?
fucking
That's
good.
Cute.
No, it's going to be called role playing. Yeah. And it's all because it's a secret. His nerddom is a secret. Because his wife is his like high profile shitty girlfriend person who like, okay, she's a little bit too old now, but whoever the modern day version of like a Famke Janssen would be.
Oh God.
That's the type, right? That's the type.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who that is in current modern superhero movies. I'm struggling to come up with that. I'm struggling to come up with who that is in a movie even. I mean, honestly, Gwyneth Paltrow. Boom, done. Gwyneth.
Carla Gugino?
Who's that? Who is she?
Carla Gugino's not. She's in I think she's in one of the Sin Cities. She's got that like maternal, like arrogant, but like very hot.
All right, but is she age appropriate for him?
I think she's in her mid 40s.
All right, because I just went Gwyneth Paltrow to keep it in the MCU, keep it in the
all right.
modern.
I'm
right?
not mad at that.
Right,
and I think dating an older woman is also fun.
And also it's like who doesn't like being angry at her being hoity and shitty, right? So he has to keep up.
Sniff your vagina candle.
He has to keep up his appearances as like some sort of Wall Street bro, like some stock bro, right?
When in reality,
he's just a fucking nerd. And this is a movie that you should get behind, Coy, because remember we had that idea for that T-shirt that says like, ask your gym bros how they're doing. And then like a little, right, or whatever. I don't remember what it was. It was something like that. We said it's like,
but that
check on your gym bros emotions, right? Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, but that's what it is. That's the whole premise of the movie is like, this guy
I support your movie. I support
doesn't
it.
Get
this
to
is
be,
something I would see.
He doesn't get to be himself ever. He doesn't get to let his freak flag fly. He's like he just wants to fucking tabletop game and hang out. And he's the luckiest man on earth because, Brie Larson.
He happens to look like that and they call in, Brie Larson.
There we go. And it's called the role play.
I look forward to hating Henry Cavill's luck in this as much as I hate it in real life. That handsome, impossible man that's doing a Guy Ritchie film this year after doing a Matthew Vaughn film this year.
We did
That is going to do it for our hotline
wait a minute.
calls.
I'm sorry. Wait, I got it. I'm sorry. It was right there in front of us all along. Because honestly, she doesn't need the work. We're pulling Gwyneth Paltrow out and we're putting in Gal Gadot in that role.
Oh, it's right there.
It's right there.
Jeez.
It was literally
we failed
right there.
this city. It was too close.
It's right there.
We were forest for the trees.
Yes.
It was right there.
There it is.
Okay. Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill reunite in a movie about them being too attractive. Sold. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of Coycast. Let us know if you want to go see role playing, if you want to go see star-crossed lovers, Tom Holland and Zendaya, or Henry Cavill and Brie Larson. A lot of sexy, just a lot of A lot of good work going on here in our rom-coms that won't ever exist. Please do call in at 818-794-0722.
Nailed it.
That is the phone number. There are no sixes in that number, you may notice. That is 818-79. Oh, nope. I'm not going to try it again. I was so proud of getting it right.
Just have a notepad in front of you.
I'm using my phone this time. That's the problem.
Oh, God forbid pen and paper are a fucking thing. Look, what am I holding up right now? Oh, look at that. Hotline
I
notes.
save trees. I save trees.
Stuff for our Patreon-only pod.
Some of us don't kill nature for commerce.
Oh, first off, this helps nature. Paper helps nature. It makes people plant trees. If you use more paper, the more we get away from paper, the less trees get planted because people stop needing paper, and then we're fucking the environment up.
I didn't know that.
It's the same reason why real life Christmas trees are better for our environment than plastic Christmas trees. People think like, oh, it's good for the environment, so I'm not cutting down a tree. It's like, yeah, but every tree that you're cutting down, a new one gets planted.
You've given me very good day. I didn't know any of that.
Boom!
Jake, into the episode.
Knowledge
the
bomb.
Environmental plug right at the end of Coycast.
Knowledge bomb.
I didn't know any of that. Please also send your voice memos to contact@coycast.com. We do check those every week as well. You guys are the co-hosts. You help shape the show. Also, check out the Patreon. We are at like hundreds of episodes of a dozen reviews. Like we're probably approaching 1,000 movies we've talked about without exaggeration.
This Friday will be POP 178.
And I would say we average between 6 and 8 movies, and there have been times we've done more than 10.
Right.
We are approaching 1,000 things reviewed.
And all of it incredibly easily searchable. So if
all
you're
SEO'd, all very labeled brilliantly.
If you go to Patreon, you're like, oh, I'm curious to whether or not they ever watched Role-Playing starring Brie Larson and Henry Cavill, then all you have to do is
2027 we will have after
all you have to go to the search bar, type it in, and it'll bring up anytime we talked about that specific thing you're searching for. You can also do more broad searches. For example, you can type in DCEU, and any movie that we talked about that was in the DCEU is also tagged that. So it can be broad, it can be vague. You could just write Batman, and it'll be anytime we talk about Batman. It doesn't have to specifically be, the movie The Batman, or, Dark Knight Rises. Like, it'll be, more broad if you want. So, yeah. Tons of stuff over there on the Patreon.
And we, every single week we talk about like just art, whether it's a play, TV, movies, every time I get on a mega vinyl kick. So check out the Patreon. It's really something special. I'm very proud of it. And there's different tiers. Like it's not prohibitively expensive at all, any tier. And then there's also like a tier where you get to pick what we watch. There's where you get entered to the raffle to pick what we watch. You get to get some swag. So just consider checking it out. I'm proud of what we're doing over on Patreon. We're about to record our Patreon episodes. They drop Fridays now. So check that out over there. This week I'm going to be talking about Dune, amongst a bunch of other things. So much love to everyone, whether you're a patron or not. Thank you for listening to this show. It could not exist without you. Please keep sharing it. I love seeing the shirts in the wild. Tag me or Jake at Jake Lloyd Bacon or at Coy Jandro. We will happily share anything you guys share out there, Coycast related. Always happy to hear from you lovelies. And thank you for being here, just in general. And as always, thank you to Comic Books for existing. We'll see you in 2 weeks here, and we'll see you this week on Patreon Pod. Have a good one, folks.
Hey everyone, Jake Lloyd Bacon here.
Along with Paul Bianchi.
And Alexandra Hoy.
Hey, we all host different shows on Dragon Wagon Radio.
We do, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Not at all. We are here to talk about Dungeons and Dragon Wagon,
a narrative podcast series in which we venture into a mythical land for a D&D inspired role-playing game.
Alexandra and I are joined by Matt Hinksman and a very special guest of quest for each chapter of an epic saga in which we must take on the roles of half-orcs, dark elves, and more as we fight our way through a fantastical land of peril, drama, and often hilarity.
All of which is controlled by me, the Dungeon Master, and the players' chance rolls of the die.
And our show is for everyone. Even if you know nothing about D&D or role-playing games, we've got you covered.
That's right. Our game sessions are highly edited, easy to follow, sound designed from top to bottom, and completely immersive.
Yeah, our episodes sound more like a well-produced radio drama than an RPG show.
So what are you waiting for? Join the adventure on Dungeons and Dragon Wagon at dndwpod.com or wherever you find great podcasts.
meets Dragon Wagon.